Yo, what's going on YouTube? I've been Pokemaster here, and today it is our week 1 match of the DLA, the Kentucky Torracats versus the New York Wish. Now, most people do not like this team, and when I was battling, I said this is going to be an easy week 1 match, and it turns out it was not at all. This is one of the most cancerous people in the community, so I just took this match very lightly, and it ended up not turning out so good for me. So I did not have enough time to do a draft analysis or team builder, so I'm just going to go over my full team now. It's a Kieran Black, Heatran, Sylveon, Mega Gyarados, Galvantula, Cresselia, Crobat, Gourgeist, Espeon, and Nidoking. So it's not a bad team at all in my standards. Actually, yeah, rate it pretty high in the power rankings. And Cancerous Casper team is Mega Scizor, Tapu Koko, Mew, Garchomp, Tangrowth, Tentacool, Porygon Z, Scrafty, Chatot, Cofagrigus, and Rapidash. So you see, I brought the Nidoking, the Heatran, the Galvantula, the Cresselia, the Mega Gyarados, and the Gourgeist. So he's bringing his Garchomp, his Tentacruel, Mew, Tapu Koko, Scizor, Mega Scizor, and his, can't think of what it's called, Scrafty. So let's start the battle. So I lead my Nidoking because it has coverage for almost everything. So he leads with the Garchomp. So he switches out and goes for the Tentacruel. But I ended up switching out too because I was afraid that he would stay in and Earthquake me. So I switch out into Gyarados, get the Mode Breaker, go for a Dragon Dance. I can end up getting a lot of damage. Now I was risking a Scald Burn because I knew the Scald was coming, but he didn't get it. So then I go for Earthquake, but he Shuka and lives it. He goes for Scald again, and still does not get the burn. I actually get a crit, which would have been more useful the round before. Now it comes in as Scrafty. I switched out because I didn't have a move for it. I sent my Gourgeist because I figured the Fighting type move was coming. So when I first get, he has a Assault Vest, so I know it's not a Resto Chesto, Dragon Dance, or any other, or Sub, Dragon Dance, that kind of stuff. So he switched out into his Tapu Koko, and I go for the Will-O-Wisp. So now this thing is most likely special, but if it's physical, this thing is completely useless. So I switch out and go to my Cresselia. He goes for the Volt Switch. And there's a sizable chunk, and since I'm physical bulky, that does a lot of damage. He then goes into Scrafty, but I have to switch out and then go to the Mega Gyarados, because I figured he'd be going for the Dark type move. So then I switch back out into the Gourgeist. He goes for the knockoff still. He's for my lefties. He switches out into Tapu Koko, and I go for another Will-O-Wisp. And you can see here where I was taking the match very lightly. So I switched out and went to Nidoking, predicting his Volt Switch. But he goes for the Dazzling Gleam. He then switches out and goes into Garchomp. And I Sledge Wave. Did a sizable chunk around 30%. He then switches back out into Scrafty. I go into my Cresselia. I go for Moonlight. He goes for Super Fang, which is what I was not expecting at all. I'm doing Cath Health. I then go for HP. I think it was Ice. He goes to Knockoff, gets rid of my leftovers, and I was just going to let it die, but then he switched down into his Bluetooth, the Mew. Then he switches back out and goes into Scrafty, and I went for the Ice Beam. So now he's frozen. So I decided that it was a good time for me to set up with Mega Gyarados. He's still frozen, but his Shed Skin activates. So I went for the Earthquake and he went for Drain Punch. And I was calculating that would kill. He then goes into Scizor, so then he can just Bullet Punch me. And I didn't really have anything that wanted to take Bullet Punch damage, and it would have died coming back in, so I didn't figure it was a good idea to switch out. Then I go for my Nidoking. He switches out in Garchomp. I went for Flamethrower. This sizable chunk. I really should have been predicting. He then goes for the Toxic. He then goes into Scrafty, and I went for the Stealth Rock. I go into Gorgeist. He went for a knockoff. Really wasn't much else I could do. He goes into his Tapu Koko. Well, I went for a Synthesis. He predicted for me to go for another Will-O-Wisp, but instead I just went for and I predicted him to switch because of me going for a Will-O-Wisp. I just went for a Synthesis. He switches back out into Garchomp, and I go for a Destiny Bond, and he just goes for a Stealth Rock, and I go for a Will-O-Wisp, completely destroying this Garchomp. He then goes into his Mew, and I go for another Destiny Bond. And then this is when things gets bad. He just goes for Calm Mind over and over and over. He goes for another Calm Mind. I Will-O-Wisp it just so I can get Leftovers recovery. And this thing didn't really worry about being burned. And he goes for another one. And I'm just hoping to get a crit or something, like the biggest crit you'll ever see. He goes for another Calm Mind. And I just go for Destiny Bond in case he tries to attack me. This one I switch out and go for Galvantula and just hope to get a big crit. It does 18%. And Psychic kills me. And at this point I knew it was just GG. GG, it's Envy. Goes for Shadow Ball, he kills me. I've really had no chance of winning this game at this point. I go in the Nidoking, Shadow Ball, hopefully getting a crit. Nope. Does nothing. Psychic kills me. Crit didn't even matter. Heatran, Balloon. Kill. Does 11%. He soft boils in case if I do get a crit. Go for Flamethrower again, does nothing. He goes for Shadow Ball. Critical hit kills me. He needed that crit. I don't think that would have killed without a crit. Gorgeist. Frisk does nothing. Shadow Ball kills me. So I lose 5-0 against Casper in the New York Wish. I really took my opponent for granted. Didn't really expect much out of him, but he ended up beating me 5-0 with the Calm Mind Mew. Didn't really expect it at all. So, it was a great match. I learned my lesson about not fearing my opponents, not taking it seriously. And anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week in week 2 of the DLA, and I'll see you next time. Peace.